I used to look at, every personal development book. The best personal development book is to look at the data of your own life. And if you don't like the results, I know I didn't, I chose to change some things.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the Tattoo Guardians podcast show. And we got a special treat with you today. For all of you today, you know who it is, our brother who continues to help inspire passion people. It's none other than Hip, been traveling the world, painting the streets in love. Mr. Carlton is at home getting some much R&R. You know who it is. It's Mr. Matt Clemmer here. And once again, I brought on another golden treasure and a brother, a mentor and coach, and a brother who's helped me along the way in my life and my journey. I met this brother in a previous mastermind who was one of my coaches who almost reached out to help me weekly, whether I always received it or not. But this brother is golden, and I'm honored because he said yes to being on the show with us today. Without further ado, brothers and sisters, Mr. James Whiteman is in the house with us today. Hello, Brother James.
Awesome. How's it going?
Good. Happy day, man. I was talking to Russ Abbott last week. James Russ Abbott is a legend in our industry, and one thing he said amongst many is these days I'm just trying to surround myself with smart people. And I really appreciated that, as do I, which is one of the many reasons why we got you on the show, you smart fella, you.
Oh, you're too kind.
Yes. Do you mind, before we get into today's discussion, just briefly telling the world who you are, how you operate, how you serve the world, and what it is that you even do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is James Whiteman, and I'm a coach for entrepreneurs. I run a strictly referral-based business. And what I do is I help entrepreneurs work through their money beliefs to increase their bank account, increase their clients, and reduce the amount of time that takes. That's pretty much it in a go.
Wow. James Whiteman helps entrepreneurs work through their money beliefs. Do you know any tattoo artists, Hip, that could use a specialist like that in their life?
Not really.
Yeah, no. All tattooers are good, a lot of tattooers are kind of like entrepreneurs.
Oh, 100%.
At least guys that work for themselves, run their own business, have to create vision over and over and over again, implement the vision on a walking, living, breathing canvas, right? And there is so much work that goes involved, internal and external, to even create a tattoo, let alone a good one that's going to be on someone's life the rest of their life. Right? We go through so much internally thinking about the design, the layout, the application, the approach, our light sources, blurring it out, the mix-up of styles, line weight, you name it. It goes on and on. All you tattooers out there know exactly the song I'm singing right now. And that is all your internal state, let alone the external state of your environment, your relationship with your coworkers, your ability to consult with the client and to actually build a great relationship with them so that they're down with the vision that you're manifesting for them, all of that, let alone the external part of the actual technical side of the application of the tattoo. So many people got us tattoo artists up on some pedestal. We got the greatest job in the world, and it looks cool and it looks easy, but people don't see all the blood, sweat, and tears and all of the stress behind the scenes.
With great freedom comes great sacrifice.
Man. So with all that, I would go as far as to say that getting a tattoo from the right tattoo artist is invaluable. I would also go as far as to say what us tattoo artists have to face on the daily is a lot. And I also believe that you are worthy of learning how to put proper value on yourself. But so many artists have such a weird emotional connection around this thing called money. Now, we've talked about it before, but today we brought on an expert to help us talk through deeper on this conversation of things on your money stories, your money mindset, and this thing called value. Is that an okay setup, James?
That's a beautiful setup.
Okay, great. Good. Whoa, happy day. Well, where do we begin from here? Where do you want to start, James?
Well, I think from what you're sharing, it sounds like, the people listening, it sounds like they're beyond the typical person that's just going about their job. It sounds like they're actually artists. They're people that are developing, they want to grow in this. And I think them seeing the value in that to begin with is an amazing place to start. Like what they have now is great.
I love that. I love that. Can you speak more to that? Before we went live, or before we started recording, you were almost touching on this concept of why, unless I'm jumping in too quick, of why you are perfect for the job right now. And that's not exactly what you said, but.
So what I was sharing was why you're the best right now. And for those,
I love that.
Absolutely. So for those listening, the reason why they're the best right now is because of the person that they're talking to and the person that they're in front of. And so sometimes there's an assumption, especially, I know for me, when I was doing a lot of development, still do, but sometimes there can be this tendency to see, oh, you know what, I have this much to grow in my skill or my craft, or this is where I really want to be. And so someone could come in, want to be a client or start talking about it. And the thoughts that would come flooding in were, oh, I'm not the best. I could refer them to this other person, or, they want maybe this thing, but I don't know if I'm the best at it. There's probably a better way to do this.
Yeah.
And it's actually not the skill level that's getting in the way of the pricing. It's the belief. And
I love that. Now, all we got to do is to get tattoo artists to believe what the fuck you just said.
There you go, right? Because they might be saying, well, someone, and, a tattoo is going to be on someone for the rest of their life. So they might be thinking, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to, do these things. Here's the thing. It's kind of like in the past, when I was worried that I was an asshole, my coach had to tell me, if you're worried that you're an asshole, you're probably not the asshole. And so the fact that they're concerned of whether they're doing well enough, whether the client is going to be pleased, is actually the indicator that they have care. And what if, for some reason, they didn't believe in themselves, that potential client went off to someone else who did not have the same care, right? Because we're having an assumption that they're going to go off to someone that's better, that has all the same care, has all of those same things. Very likely that's actually not the case. They may either not get a tattoo, or they are going to end up with someone that isn't actually providing the same care as them. So they got to start actually valuing the fact that they're listening to the podcast, the fact that they do this development, the fact that they have these considerations for the client. It's actually an indicator, not that they aren't the best, but they are the best.
Yeah.
Especially for that person right in front of them right now.
Man, it's as if God sourced the universe, aligned them, brought them together as if it was a divine appointment.
Yes.
In the beginning of this conversation, when I broke down some of the internal and external things us tattoo artists have to face, and you started to allude to, before we move forward, to stop and notice that already deserves value. Right? Just by us having to be and take the responsibility on our shoulders to show up in our best self, and have to, for lack of better terms, worry about all this shit internally and externally. Just because we can, just because you see on our Instagram, whoa, that's a dope piece, I can't believe Hip did that, right? Just because we can doesn't mean it's easy. Right? Like, yeah, we may be able to pull off some pretty epic shit or a decent tattoo, but it doesn't mean it comes easy. Don't mean we just wake up and stretch back. Yeah, I'm going to drop dopeness today. I mean, some dudes do, right?
I do every morning.
Yeah. But, I don't think most clients understand and even appreciate the level of degree of care and concern we have to even implement and execute a well tattoo, not only to meet the standards of the industry, meet the client's expectations, but our jobs usually is to surpass them, because most clients aren't creative, most clients aren't artists until they walk up in the shop. You know what I'm saying? But we got to take their vision to that next level. We ain't got to, but we get to. That's what us as artists do. But that doesn't come easy, And so that's one. That's why I'm always helping students in TBM see that, place proper value on themselves, and to normalize it like as normal as your name,
Yeah.
Now, James, 2 months ago on a random Tuesday night, what was your first name?
Say that again?
2 months ago on a random Tuesday night, what was your first name?
James.
Great. 2 months from now on a random Thursday, what do you think your first name will be?
James.
It's as if it's already been settled. You've decided who you are, right? And that effortlessly is how I try and help our students define their worth, their rates, and normalize it as easily and effortlessly as their name. So that they can just effortlessly, powerfully convey. That's who you are. That ain't personal. I didn't decide to name myself or decide I'm Matt today when I met you, depending on what kind of tattoo you want. Now I'm going to decide who I am, i.e. what my rates or pricing is for you today. No, it ain't personal. My pricing was set before I met you today. It's set for 3 months from now when I meet somebody. I already know my pricing. So it's effortless and easily. My name's Matt, and this is who I am. This is my price. Now we can decide if we're a right fit, if we want to enter into a relationship together, but it's not contingent upon who we are. Right?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Now, getting artists to that place takes a little bit of time because there's all these stories. Not only are there stories because so many artists have a weird emotional connection around money, a lot of them think, money's bad. A lot of the world thinks that. But it's so weird because most people that think that don't have any or don't have enough and are stressed out day in and day out. Even tattooers that undervalue themselves. Now they got this mountain to climb because they're starting a half sleeve, but they've all don't have much gas or wind in their sail because they fucked themselves and they devalue themselves, and they're starting the journey on this mountain already out the gate, undercutting, underbidding themselves. Now it gets heavier, right? And in living that lifestyle can be draining, hamster wheel. You can just get burnt out quick. And not having enough money, worrying about your funds, your finances. Some of y'all spent the rest of it at the bar last night. It was like, fuck it. Now you wake up broke today. You got to run it back next week, right? That hamster wheel isn't sustainable forever. Yes, if you're a 22-year-old tattooer, that's part of the life, but it isn't sustainable forever. The flip side, any guys that start to get a little bit of money, to see a little bit of success, then they feel bad for having done so. And so it's a catch-22. Not having enough, their life can suck. But starting to get a little, they make that mean all this negative shit, like they're unworthy, they're bad. And again, so this is a huge topic that I have with my students to help them break through all these lies, all these limiting beliefs. They're just stories. None of them are serving them, right? So that's one. Two, wouldn't you agree, Hip, that because tattooing has been like a baton that's been passed down through the generations from master to mentor, mentor to apprentice, over and over again. And a lot of things, so there was mentors to apprentices passing on the technical, how to run a liner, how to run a shader and a mag, how to tune your machine, voltage, all of that, the technical side. But what wasn't passed down was like self-worth, how to talk to people, how to talk to clients, and really how to put proper value on yourself. And so there was a way it's always been done. I'm telling you, the average hourly rate across the country from the 80s through the 90s and even the 2000s was $100 an hour. And throughout them, some guys that had less belief or lower technical ability, they'd have $50 minimums. But the average forever, for decades, was $100 an hour.
There's still shops doing fucking Friday the 13th tattoos for $13 that day.
And they're doing it thinking like to just get more people in, but it's from a place of lack and scarcity, not like abundance. So here we are in 2022. And now, guys, the averages are anywhere from 150 to 200 an hour, but it almost took 30 fucking years for it to have that $50 jump. And to this day, a lot of those folks that came up that way almost get mad at anyone or those of us who do raise our rates. I mean, James, we got people that almost hate our guts once they find out what we charge, right?
Yeah.
Our clients don't. You know, it's weird. It's as if people think we hold our clients down, hold a gun to their head, and make them pay our full day rate when, you know, we don't claim to be the cheapest at all. We actually will be the first to say, well, that we're not the cheapest. You could go next door or down the street for a fraction of our price. It's all up to the consumer on who you want to be in relationship with, but it ain't personal. We know who we are and how we operate. But we've noticed this has been a big, for lack of better terms, taboo or touchy subject in the tattoo industry around money. And so many tattoo artists that think they're like, you know, good moral guys. Those of us who are also good moral guys, once they find out of our pricing, now all of a sudden they'll make it mean that we are not moral. They make it into morality. It has nothing to do with morality as much as integrity and in you knowing your own worth. And so it's our heart today to have a deeper discussion on that with Master James here to help you have a breakthrough in who you are.
So immediately as you're sharing, I'm thinking of just, you know, money in general. You know, the way people typically grow up is you think of your friends and your family. Maybe you're doing something, maybe you're helping your family, you're helping your grandma, and they want to give you some money. And then your family says, no, that, you know, that's a family member. You don't take money from them. You don't charge them. You know, you do a favor for them. People that they're helping in their family or people in their circle.
Okay.
The other thing people are told growing up is don't take anything from strangers. In fact, maybe don't even talk to strangers. And so anytime someone new comes along, it's almost as if there's this resistance, like you don't want to do something wrong.
Yeah.
So people grow up when you know, becoming an entrepreneur, a tattoo artist. If there's friends or people that they're close with, it can feel really difficult to charge. It can feel really difficult to ask for money.
Yeah.
If there's someone that they don't know, then there's some part in the subconscious that's like, nope, off limits, not allowed to do that. So where does that leave you know, anyone to get any money, right? It's usually like some job or some external source. It's very much up to happenstance. And so if they can see that, well, what does a stranger become when you actually enter into a conversation with them? They become more familiar. They become a friend. And so it's not about not charging, because it has nothing to do with their, you know, them personally. It's they're providing a service.
Yes.
And so that's usually the hangups around the money, is because of what we're taught growing up related to even charging anyone that we know.
Right. Yeah. And just touch on that real quick, because even us tattooers, there's so many tattooers that won't charge another tattooer. It's an honor, James, when a tattooer will ask me to tattoo them or another tattooer. For us tattooers to get to tattoo another tattooer, that's an honor because so many tattooers know a lot of them. So if they pick you, I want you to be my tattooer, knowing a lot of them. It's always an honor. But a lot of times, since it's one tattooer hooking up another one, there's that homie hookup, especially if it's in the same house. Tattooers will tattoo one another for free. And we not like, it's situational. I'm not like totally against that. But that's not how we operate in aisle 9, is it, Hip? Not at all. No, because if I'm really your friend, if I'm really your brother, and I say, man, I love you, man, I support you, I got your back. Cool. But you fucking, do you though? Back it up with not just word, but indeed, right? And so that's what we do. And so I don't care, even if Hip was to tattoo me tomorrow, most people think, Hip and I are brothers. So they would think like, well, Hip, we ain't going to charge one another. He ain't going to charge me. And whether he does or not, he already knows that I'm coming to pay his full day rate and give him the biggest and best tip he's ever gotten. He already knows that, and vice versa. Now, there are times where we must also know when to receive the gift. If he really wants to bless me, now I got to receive because he's trying to give to me. But that's a different scenario than expecting it all the time just because we boys, right? And, for any of you listeners that have ever been in a band and you've taken years of your hard-earned money, blood, sweat, and tears just to make the album and to have a CD release party, then all your buddies want a free CD and they don't want to pay a cover to get in, right? And that's not always a money thing. It's not like your dudes don't have the $10 for your CD and the $5 cover. It's they need and want to feel like VIP. They want to feel important. I mean, because I was a front man and so many of my dudes wanted to be able to tout that I'm on the guest list. Clemmer put me on his guest list, and I got an autographed CD. I had to pay for it because we boys, right? But what they didn't understand, so it's up to us to educate, is it took every penny we got in blood, sweat, and tears in the last 3 years to even write this album. We're in the red. We're selling this album to help pay for it now. If you really my brother, you'd buy 5, let alone just drop $10 for one, And so it's just a shift in perspective. If we really love and want to support one another, we should want to pay full fucking price. And so that's what we do with one another, isn't it, Hip?
Correct.
And when you when you do other tattooers that way, it usually blows their mind, doesn't it, Hip? Yeah. And even the times when tattooers like, no, you Hip, I ain't going to charge you. Hip's like, okay, but what is your day rate? What would you? And Hip always, he'll just be like, okay, I'll receive the gift. But then he turns around and gives them the biggest tip ever that is their day rate plus a tip, and it blows their mind, doesn't it, Hip?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to speak to that real quick, James, on what you were touching on. Again, back to you talking about hang-ups around strangers. But again, it's the art form of tattooing that brings us together. But what's deeper than that, something we teach, is the art form of building relationships. And so many people, James, you and I were strangers at one point, right?
Yeah.
Me and Hip were strangers at one point. So I like that you said, we're going to build a relationship with one another. We won't always be strangers.
Right. Yeah. There's, there's someone that I was speaking to the other day, and what they said is, the only thing that's going to be different in your life a year from now is the relationships that you make.
Oh, I like that. Like that.
Yeah, because, if someone is just putting up their service, it's not an actual building of the relationship. The building of the relationship is actually what creates the context for the value. And so that can look like getting into a conversation with someone, and instead of it being, oh, here's my service, here's the rate, it's asking the question of, what has you looking at a tattoo now? Why is this one important to you? Why do you want this for the rest of your life? because what's happening is that you're actually understanding what the importance is for the person. And when you know the importance, before the show, I think it was before the show, we were talking about how on someone's wedding day, they can pay thousands to have their hair done, because of what they're making the wedding mean and all those things. When you understand why the person is wanting this,
Yes.
why it's important to them, you're actually tapping into what's going to make it possible for them to even pay, and even consider the amount of hours and the artistry that, as a service provider, you're bringing to the table that they probably don't even see at first. So that's the creating the context of the value. That's creating the relationship.
Yes.
Is the asking of the questions.
I love that. That's so beautiful and so powerful. And yes, even again with our in-house at Aisle 9 and all of my students in Tattoo Business Mastery, yes, so I teach them something what I call like the 9 steps of impact in building the relationship, i.e. the consultation. And one of those 9 steps is to get to know their why.
Yeah.
And to speak to that, because that is building a relationship, and us as the creator helps more on the vision. It's one thing that you just want a red cardinal and a peony flower. Great. I fucking love doing both of those. But why? And why me? Why today? And why a cardinal? Well, it's for my grandma, who passed, but she always, and I've got a cardinal on my forearm right here. There's so many grandmas that left the legacy of the cardinal. Mine's one of them. I got to hold her hand on her deathbed, and was with her when she took her last breath. And she did tell me, like, if the good Lord lets me, I'll come back and visit you in the form of a little red bird, right? And so, and guess how often I see red birds ever since then, And so I did get a tattoo of a red bird and a peony. But again, in consulting with someone else and asking them their why, and to have an understanding like that, well, okay, shit just got real. Now this is bigger than just an image. There's a why attached to it, right? And so I couldn't agree more with you. Other powerful questions to ask that I think's creating value, instead of, because so many tattoo artists feel like, well, that's cool, but I'm not a cheesy car salesman. Like, I'm not trying to sell myself or sell anything. And I'm like, well, great. Don't do that. That's not what we're suggesting at all. So many don't get it. But another value building question is I'll have my artists ask, like, out of all the tattoo artists in the world, why me? What made you pick me? What made you come to me today? And their answers is value building, and they are re-talking themselves into why you are the choice, simply by asking that value building question. Instead of me trying to sell them on why I'm the best man for the job to do your tattoo, I'll just ask them why and I'll let them tell me, and at the same time they're telling themselves why I am the man for the job.
Yeah absolutely.
It's beautiful, and I love that you brought up a lot of times in the relationship building process, it comes down to asking the right questions.
Yeah, it really does, and even before, even before that point, because maybe someone's trying to build their clients or build the amount of people coming in. One of the greatest things that they can realize is that they are the marketing, like they are the advertisement. And so, I'm going to assume they have different tattoos. I have friends that have tattoos, and when they're talking to someone or they're meeting someone new, someone may compliment the tattoos or they may ask a question, and so they get to be the marketing, like it's natural, like they're the walking like billboard. That's right?
Yep.
And that gets to be an entry point. And so even before it's maybe a formalized conversation, it's an element of those questions like you were sharing of, oh, have you ever thought about a tattoo? And and really tapping in there, what's there for another person,
Mm.
or they're going to begin showing their own and what else they're looking for, and that's where those conversations begin to occur. It actually has a natural flow to it.
Yes. I love that. Yes, like you, we are in a big referral-based business.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do have marketing and social media. Instagram was made for tattoo artists because we put out pretty pictures every day, right? And so these days, a lot of people may feel drawn and led to hit us up without ever speaking to us, simply from our Instagram. So that's an entry point. But again, how we make them feel once they do reach out is the tell-all if we're going to even end up working together.
Yeah.
I'm also a fan of having, not all money's good money, and the type of client that's out in the world, informing people who gave them that tattoo. I actually care to that level. I don't want just any dude in a bar fight fucking knocking people out, getting arrested, and the cop asking like, "Hey, it's a dope tattoo. Where'd you get that?" And then say my name.
Right. That's also why we're leery about. We made like a shirt from our shop, right? And they must use aisle 9. So there's aisle 9 shirts. But I, for the longest time, was leery about selling any to just anyone, because I didn't want some scenario of a dumb fuck at the bar. He's had too much to drink, and now he's like pissing everyone off, and he's wearing our shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, no thanks. That's not us. Woo.
Yeah.
So yes, I think what he's alluding to too is, as you grow in your own self-worth and who you are, how you operate, and the type of clients and pieces, projects you want to even attract into your life and to take on, we take it a step further, don't we, Hip, where we literally will define the type of clients we want to work with. Not only what type of styles and pieces they're bringing to us, but who are they? How do they treat us? How do they see us? Like, how do they make us feel? Are we going to jive with them? Because operating from abundance, we believe that's not only possible, but there's more than enough dream clients, right fit clients for every one of you out there, that you don't have to live in the land of lack. Now, James, like any career, but especially as a tattoo artist, in the beginning, you take what you can get in the building process. When you're learning your technical ability, no matter what style you want to end up emulating or leaning towards, you can't skip the basics, right? And in the beginning, we're so honored to get to be a tattoo artist and honored to be a part of the rest of your life. We're going to take on whatever comes in the door. And then old schoolers are like, that's the way you should roll forever. You're fucking tattooers. I don't give a fuck. Do it, right? Which is cool, but what if there's a way for you to actually be happy and content as an artist and get to be selective about the pieces you take on and do? This is where lack shows up, because every artist dreams about that. Every artist is a different place in that process, but some don't believe it's in the cards for them, and so they go back to just dreaming about that, but they're taking on whatever comes in the door on some sort of hamster wheel, like hoping someday, one day, maybe things will change, but they don't realize that the change starts within them and their beliefs, right? Also in the beginning stages, we all know, every tattooer listening, and other people listening that aren't tattooers and in some sort of service industry, hairstylists, whatever the case may be. We all know what it's like to have someone in our chair that's just sucking the life out of us. We find ourselves trying to almost hurry this tattoo up just to get them the fuck out of here because they're zapping us. We all know what that feels like. And it don't mean there's anything good, bad, right, or wrong with that person. This just not a right fit for whatever reason. They just under our skin, right? Whatever the case may be. But on the flip side, James, we also all know what it's like to have such a wonderful client who doesn't balk at our prices, who gives us creative control, who sees us, who appreciates us, who showers us with love, and gives us a huge tip. Like, we all have a type of client that fills our soul up so much that when they leave, we are left thinking, my God, I wished I had 30 more of that guy. I wish I had 30 more chicks like that gal. She was awesome. As if it's luck of the draw. But what if it's not? And again, this is something we teach in Tattoo Business Mastery, and I'm sure this is something that you coach a lot of your clients, is creating your best life by your design. And what does that look like? And so I love, James, that you keep hinting that really it's not these things out here that you think. It's not your technical ability. It's not, we as all human beings, when we start to grow, will get what I call an upper limit trigger. And you'll be triggered to realize how fundamentally flawed you are, how you're not good enough yet, right? Welcome to the human experience. So now what? It's all about, our beliefs. And we're always going to feel or battle imposter syndrome, not good enough, right? Mm-hmm. But I also love and so this is something we try and help people break free from, and to own your growth and to own your worthiness on so many levels. But now I'm starting to rambling because this shit excites me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think this is actually pivotal because there's two parts that I think are really good. That whole thing was good, but I think there's two important parts to it. One is, as they're building this, especially if they're in the beginning stages, like you said, there may be these moments where, they're just kind of accepting or receiving what's coming in.
Yeah.
The way through that is to have a specific process, which I imagine you teach a specific process, so that way they can know for themselves just what they're implementing each week, each day to generate those clients. Because the more they generate, the more they feel they have control over that. Yeah. It's going to increase the amount of people moving towards them, the amount of conversations that they're having.
Yeah.
And when that happens, they get to consciously choose. So as they reach a higher limit of who they're able to serve, then they get to be more selective. Obviously, they can be selective in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Often there's more of an empowered feeling around being selective. And so if they're going into the imposter syndrome, right? Or the questioning of the value and charging that amount, or saying, how can I decline someone? The way through is not always, it doesn't always have to be the deep emotional work. It doesn't always have to be this deep rewiring. And so the question that I would encourage them to ask themselves whenever they're experiencing these thoughts or feelings that are sort of hijacking them away from what's helping them move forward, the question to ask themselves is this useful? Because it's not about whether it's right or wrong, right?
Come on, I love that.
Yeah. What popped up for you there as I shared that?
Well, because we try and help people see the distinction between morality versus workability. Right? And so many people, especially the conversation about money, they make it morality. And it blows my mind because there's so many fucking literally douchebag asshole tattoo artists that are scumbags. But that are pretty immoral fucks, wouldn't you say? Yeah. We know a couple. Yeah. But then and I would go as far as say Hip and I are dudes that like literally walk in love, right? But but it's funny because then when they hear that we charge more than them, they paint us out to be the most immoral dudes, and I'm like, really? Like this immoral fucker, But anyway, so I like what you said because it ain't about morality; it's about workability, which is another way of saying is integrity. Integrity with yourself, with who you are and how you operate, especially this thing called art, because it's subjective. Can you see that painting behind Hip on the floor? You probably can't. Will you grab that real quick and just hold it up, so. Hip? Just hold that up. I love this. This painting right here, James. Can you see that, James?
Yep.
Okay, so it's a chair painting. A lot of people, I've always been a realism artist, so part of me would look at that and be like, cool, what fourth grader did that, right? But this is a well-known artist that sells, this is like, in New York City, this painting would go for $20,000. Since he's a friend of mine here in Dayton, he sold it to me for $4,000. And I got that just because my wife loved it. But, tattooers that are all about whether it's clean line work or realism or proper shading, most of them would be like, what the fuck? Like if this was hanging in a coffee shop and it had the price tag of $4,000 on it, you know how many people would think that's a joke? It don't matter, because this artist didn't ask any of us our opinion on what value he should place on his own work. And he just placed it, and it's subjective. It's not personal to me. I got to decide, do I want to drop that kind of money or not? Do I want to play or not? But I didn't take it personal. You son of a bitch, how dare you charge me $4,000? You know what I'm saying? No, he ain't charging me. That's the value he put on his product and service. It's up to me. Do I want to play or not? And this is about the integrity to himself. He kept integrity in himself when he put proper value on that. And is that useful to him? Like you said, is that workable? It has nothing to do with morality. It's all about workability. So back to artists who define who they are and how they operate in that process, growing and asking themselves who I am. And the top, is this useful? Is this work for me? It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. Is it useful? Is that the question you asked?
Yeah, absolutely. And so they can use this for anything that's coming up. And so, it's, if they have a thought and the thought is, I can't charge this much or any of those things, they could ask themselves, is this useful? And it's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's about, is what they're experiencing useful? Because they are, there's an owner versus a victim. A victim is blames, they're subjective to all the circumstances. An owner sees that they have a role in this.
God. Well, he just described the whole industry. We can put any artist in one of those two categories, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're either you're the owner or the victim. And so the owner, they can ask themselves, what am I making this mean? Or what can I learn from this? Or what can I do about this? Because no matter whatever we're experiencing is occurring. Yeah. And if it's happening internally, then we have a choice over how we're relating to what's happening. Yeah. And so, there's two paths that I see, right? Because sometimes people say with marketing is about speaking to the people that are already thinking and interested in what you have to do. And then there's this element where some people think marketing is convincing. And so if we're going off the premise, right, of is our goal for the people that money being about morality, is our goal to convince them that it's not about morality, that it is possible for them to charge more? Or are we speaking to the people who do want to charge more?
Well, I'd rather, it's much easier just to talk to them so we don't have to fight against all their limiting beliefs. Because even the people who want to charge more, they still got a slew of limiting beliefs, but at least they're willing to get in the game and start taking a look.
Right, because they recognize, right? They're able to recognize, perhaps the reason I'm not making the amount of money that I want to make is because of my beliefs. It's not because of all these other things out there. So what can I do?
Perhaps. I love it. We got to steal that. That's the new word for perhaps, Perhaps, maybe it's fucking me. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
And so, for them, then you can either choose, do you want to, do we want to play to all the stories? I think we've all done that in our personal development. Sometimes there is deeper stuff there. Sometimes we can do some healing. Yeah. And thoughts are these amazing things that we can just literally change.
Yeah.
Right? We can choose something new.
Man, That's so good. That's so good. Oh my God, that's so good. Is another way, you know how you ask with anything, the people to stop when they have a thought to be like, is this useful to me? You know, what we have our students ask is this serve me or not? And is that similar, or is there a distinction between, is there different, you know?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just as you share that, I experience them a little differently. I think the question of, you know, does this serve me? I think it actually is something that is very useful to say, you know, especially as you're helping them build a vision of, you know, what's my vision? Does this serve me? Because that can really help them distinguish between, do I need to let go of something? Do I need to move towards something? I think the question of, you know, is this useful? It's almost an element of, here's what's occurring right now. Yeah. Is this useful for what I'm wanting to create? And so I think that one is really helpful in letting go of, and just having like an overarching view. Yeah. Whereas I think you know, is this useful? It's more of it's very much a tool, like in the moment, you know, if they're doubting themselves, because sometimes we can get caught up in a conversation in our head and just asking ourselves, is this useful right now? It gets us out of the, you know, is it right or wrong, into, well, actually, what would be more useful? That's once we identify if it's useful at all.
Back to workability versus morality. Yep. Yeah. I love that. I love it. Is this useful? And I love, James, that because I'm a real passionate fella and I always like to go deep and stuff. And I like how you're already telling all of us and tattoo artists, hey, it don't always have to be some deep internal work like Clemmer always makes it out to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can be real simple. Like, is this useful or not? Whose team are you on? Do you want to get on your own fucking team or what? You know?
Yeah. Because when you can see it as, you know, if something's reoccurring, sometimes that's a little bit of a deeper work, right? Some things are momentary, some things are fleeting. If it's something that's constantly reoccurring, I would identify that simply as a pattern, not as, oh, this is me, or, oh, my parents were this way, or this is what I learned. It's, if we can instead just see everything as a pattern that served us at one point, right? Like, let's say someone bites their nails. They may want to stop biting their nails. Yeah. However, if we can see that everything that we do has a positive intention in some way, like biting the nails might just be a way that we're soothing ourselves. It might be a way for releasing fear. And that's just the pattern that we picked up, that we knew, or that we built at some point. And so if we were able to learn a pattern before, it means that we get to choose a new pattern. We get to learn a new pattern without having all the shame or the blame and something's wrong with me and I keep doing this thing, because we're able to see how was this useful? It was probably useful then, but it might not be useful now for what we're wanting to create.
My God, you know what distinction I think you're clearing up here is when you defined either people are victims or owners. And what you were saying a minute ago, most people that think they're owners that are actually still victims because they think, well, I own my shit. I'm this way because I'm all fucked up from my past and because of my parents. And they think that's owning it, when it's really they're not owning it. They think they're owning their shit, but they're really victims. But then you made the distinction to actually live with the mirror in front of your face and not make yourself wrong or bad or fucked up or the victim or blaming because of your childhood or your parents, because welcome to the planet Earth. Most of us didn't, especially tattooers, didn't have the best upbringing. But now what? What are we going to do about it, right? And for you to paint the picture of, you don't have to make it mean all that shit, and recognize your own patterns and give yourself a little room. Even the patterns that you've had that you feel like could be negative, give yourself a little self-love and realize, hey, if you're biting your nails, it doesn't have to mean all bad. That could be a way of self-love or releasing fear or whatever, to recognize it's just a pattern and to take ownership of the power of choice after you have ownership to be self-aware, to now be empowered as an owner to make a new choice, to want to create a new pattern. And I think that's taking ownership versus just owning your shit and being like, I'm fucked, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, I think one of the key things is to realize the best way through is, and sometimes it can feel difficult, is love. And I view this as not love like, this infatuation. I view love as like having a care for, right? Even if it's a care for self.
Yeah.
So, if you picture like a little kid and maybe they come up and something's wrong and they're sharing the thing that happened or they're sharing what's wrong. If you go into solving it, a lot of times stuff is really like opened up, and it can start to become complex and complicated. However, if you give them a hug and you let them know that you love them and like they're okay,
yeah,
like 99% of the time, that's what helps them actually feel grounded again, feel calm, reset, restores themselves.
Yeah, you're right.
And so if they could apply that to themselves and just see like these patterns were just something that they created past period of time, probably something when they were 8 years old, 11 years old, however years old.
Yes.
Having care for themselves, having love. And I know it can sound, a little out there. It's actually the thing that will help them recollect themselves to then make an empowered choice.
Jeez. My goodness, I love that. And I love your language, James. You've said it at least twice, if not 3 times in this discussion by using the verbiage, the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. And then you're going to say the way through is love? Man, that's good. That's good. And so many artists, since we're talking tattooers, but not limited to, so many people don't know love, which is, part of our hearts, to express it and to give it, to shower it. But there are so many tattoo artists that know a little love, but they have love for our craft. They love tattooing. They love good artwork, but they all still struggle with figuring out how to love themselves.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That can be a common experience because, I've clients who were abandoned when they were little, or their family was, really rough on them. And the way to really cultivate love, and I think you had like a great point of, they have love for the craft, they have these other things, is this process of slowing down, of really recognizing when you're experiencing love for the craft or when you're experiencing love for whatever they may see. Maybe it's a product, maybe it's an animal.
Yeah.
What is it that's actually, occurring there? And sometimes they get to change their family lineage. They get to change their family pattern by getting to create a new way of what love is.
My God.
And what that means for them.
I call those people the breakthrough people of their family.
Mm-hmm.
Taking ownership instead of being victims. I know so many grown men my age, and I'm in my 40s, that are also parents now. And they are still such victims because of how bad their parents were, that they're projecting it into their own world. And I'm like, at what point do you cross the threshold? And I get it. We had fucked up past, but now it's your turn to be the version, to do it right, to not do what they did. And I see so many people not take on that mantle to be like, now some do, but others don't. And it's like, well, are you just going to like bitch your whole life while like missing out on living your own? And you're a dad now too. It's your turn, right? So I love that, the opportunity for someone. And so if we got, but I'm feeling like there's listeners listening to this be like, well, that sounds good and all, but how? Where would I even start there? Now, I do like that you touched on when they do notice they're having a love attack, what I call them, or feeling love for something, even if it's a dog, like you mentioned, to stop, be still, and to notice what's coming up, as if they could take that same feeling, vibe, pattern, and start to maybe install it into other areas of their life. Is that what I'm hearing you say, or?
Yeah, and so one of the best ways to start, and this is similar to time, time management. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but because sometimes these things can feel out of control or they can feel unfamiliar. What you want to do is identify work moment to moment. And so if there is even one part of the day, even if it's someone that's a parent, oftentimes we're aware of all the things that we're getting wrong, or all the things that we think we could be doing better. And that's where bringing and I'll use the word care instead of love, bringing care to really just, I think this will be key, to acknowledge themselves for what they are trying to do, because anything we appreciate appreciates. Ooh. And so it's this way of, if we're shaming something, it's going to minimize.
Yes.
It's gonna reduce. So when we have that appreciation, even if it's a moment from the day, I did this with my kid, or I took this step in a conversation with a client, or I did this differently today, even if it's for themselves, just acknowledging themselves for what they have done. That's where it's going to start to grow and move into all the different areas over time.
Yes, I love that, James. I love that. Can I throw just like a specific scenario at you?
Yeah.
Under the sound of my voice right now, there's tattoo artists and collectors from all over the world listening to us have this conversation. And here's the specific scenario. There are countless tattooers that finally had the courage to go from 100 to 150 an hour right now. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them could go to 200, and they even know it. Some of them don't, but there's a tattooer out there right now that's 150 an hour, and he has been, and he's better than dudes that are charging 200. He could jump to 200 right now, but he's struggling internally, and a lot of them will come to me. I coach them through that. I'll get them to 200 after a couple months of coaching them. Yeah. What could you say to that person today? They're at 150. They want to go to 2. Mm-hmm. But they got all these hang-ups. Not good enough. Who am I? My own mentor who doesn't charge 2. Who am I? Right? There's all these external reasons that we will gauge ourselves at. Well, how can I charge more than that guy over there, or whatever the case may be? All these external things, but somewhere internally they wish they could go up, right? And I know how I handle them, and again, several months of coaching, but I'd just be curious how you would handle someone if they just called you and told you that. It's like, now what, James?
Yeah.
Or is that unfair for me to just throw on your lap?
No, you can throw it on my lap.
Okay.
I feel like that could be a whole coaching session.
Because it is, also, yeah.
but there's probably over a period of time, there's a few ways that I would look at this, though. If someone's coming to it from the morality idea, it's there could be a concept of what's really moral. If they stay at that rate when they could be charging more, are they actually taking away clients from someone else who could actually use it by them moving up to a higher rate? So there's that element. If they move up to a higher rate, that means some people that maybe they were serving are no longer going to work with them. and they may choose someone else. And so that actually helps another person create clients, and it clears up space for them to have clients that value the higher rate.
Yes, it
because
does.
There's some people that do not buy stuff because it's priced cheaply.
Come on. Oh, you are so right. You are so right. Go ahead, Hip. Yeah.
No, I'm one of those people.
Well, yeah, that's why if you got to put some respect on it. There's people who won't respect it until you value it to a certain level. But what you just said, so many artists are afraid, even though you paint the picture that, hey, some clients you may fall off, and you're actually now blessing and feeding another artist and clearing up space for you to take the new people that you're meant to take. But so many artists get slammed in lack. They don't see that's an abundant way of thinking. Almost like, it's clearing space so that they can receive their new round of clients that they haven't even met yet, that couldn't come to them until they put proper value on themselves. Now those clients are going to see them and respect it, start showing up. But so many artists are afraid of it. They fall into lack and like, I'm going to lose all my clients. And I raised my price. Now no one's going to come to me.
And, you're talking about lack and everything, and some people won't pay something if it's too cheap. And I raised my hand and said that I'm a person like that. And it comes from a place of being in lack while trying to grow and go through to a place of abundance. I can't tell you how many times I've tried the shortcut way to order something or pay for something cheaper and having to buy it over and over and over again. And then finally mustering up the courage and buying the more expensive product and still using it or liking it or the way it felt, fit, smelled. I appreciated more and it lasted longer. So in doing that, I paid double, triple the amount if I would have just bought the more expensive thing on the front end. And what that has done now, since I've moved into a place of abundance and having some respect put on it, I'm leery when things are, if there's a shirt that's out there, get 10 tees for $10, like, well, fuck that. I've already worn like a good quality fitting shirt and I like the way it feels. So why am I going to waste money on something I know that I'm not going to like through past experiences of already living in that land of lack? And that carries over into everything. I'm trying to get a Sprinter van eventually, and I got my buddy dropping me like these used Sprinter vans, and it was like, fuck that. I don't want a used Sprinter van. I remember people telling me not to buy a used car because now you'll have a car note, or buy a new car because you'll have a car note. And it wasn't until my car blew up on me on the way to a convention, and it caused problems, and it was hectic, and like the temperature gauge or the fucking lights were always on it, and it was robbing me of my serenity. But guess what? I went and bought a brand new car, and none of that happened, and I didn't have to worry about it breaking down, and I could travel really far from home, and I was willing to pay that price because what price could you put on serenity? So the more I would learn and experience these things and like take chances and live out of my comfort zone at a monetary level, I started realizing like it's totally worth it. Like this mouse that's sitting in front of Matt, he just paid $80 for it. It's an Apple product. He's had 2 or 3 mice. Do you call those mice?
Mouses? I don't know. I had 3 cheaper ones and none of them worked.
Yeah, they worked like shit. There was always issues with them, and it was during like critical moments when like someone was talking and we had to like let someone in on a Zoom call. And he went and he actually spent more for a higher quality mouse that goes with the Apple computer that we use for the podcast and the Zoom calls, and it worked great all day yesterday. Now granted, he's only had it for one day, but if you are like me and are a fan of Apple, you know that you're going to pay more for a better product, and it's usually worth it. There's a client at this restaurant we eat at a lot. Well, not a client, she's a waitress, and she always comes up and sparks conversations with us because she knows us. And that we're tattoo artists, and she's always bitching about her tattoo artist no calling, no showing her, or pushing her off, or when she finally shows up for the appointment, he tells her idea is stupid and you're just going to get this, and she basically people pleases and lets him do it, only to come to us and bitch and complain about how she doesn't like her tattoo. But then she'll always like reiterate, like thinking that my prices have changed or dropped or gotten cheaper. but she don't want to pay my rates, and that's totally cool. But if you did, you would be happy and you wouldn't be complaining about all these things. But you have to go through your own process too. And Matt, when you ask if it was appropriate to put it in his lap, it's funny because I was thinking like, well, what's a simple scenario? Because you seem like very, very fundamental. Like keeping it simple is something that I live by and I respect, because it can get real heady when it comes to money, and it can get real woo real quick when you start talking about, like, because we're talking about money and what it looks like, and why people have such a negative connection with it. And then we start throwing in all these other like woo things, and it can get confusing. So like a simple way to break down, if I am an artist and I'm talking to you and I've hired you for your services, one of the things that I might say is like, well, look, I live in Dayton and people just ain't willing to pay my rates here. What is something like that is an antidote that you would say to an individual that came to you with that situation?
Because we know that's a limiting belief, James.
Right.
Yeah. So for that, I really love like the story that you shared. It made me think of, growing up, I'd have like a used car, and I'd be freaking out that the thing was going to break down all the time. So then when it came time to get a car, I got a new car, and that was really nice. Not a worry in the world. So someone that comes through and says something like that people just don't pay that amount. I'd ask them how they know that. Did they try charging a higher amount?
Well, I've grown up here my whole life, man, and I just. It's just always that poverty mindset, dude. And like, I know everybody anyway, so they're always wanting to come get a deal from me. And I mean, I got bills to pay, so I got to get money somehow.
And what they don't realize is they're like a magnet to those fucking people because of their own mindset.
Yep. So the way that I would handle that, because that is something that comes up. I was speaking with a client earlier today who, when she was talking about her design work, she shared, she was going to talk to someone and say that she was playing around with something new and was talking about discounting, for friends or for family. And I said, well, let's get something clear. Your practice was everything up until now. And so someone that is growing up in that's very much, but like you were saying, Matt, they don't realize that that's really emanating off of them, that it's their beliefs. And so what my mentor and what my coach had to teach me, he asked me his name's Jesse Elder, and he asked me, he's like, where does money come from? And I'd be like, oh, it's energy, or it comes from the trees, or it's all these other things. And he'd just be like, no. And then I finally had to be like, where does money come from? And he'd say other people's bank accounts. And so, if we're talking to people who don't have much in their bank account, then we're going to be getting much money. And so either they are going to become so good at their enrollment process that someone's going to say, oh, I'm going to take out a credit card or do these things, or it's, who they're talking to. So that's almost where I would enter into the conversation of really hearing the data from them of who are you talking to? What do the conversations even sound like? Because sometimes people say others won't pay, and then I find out the conversations that they're having, and they represent themselves as if they have no experience in their whole life, and it's like, I probably wouldn't want to pay for that either.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You attract who you're being.
Yeah. Who they're being is who they're attracting.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And again, I'm just playing the devil's advocate
right.
here.
Absolutely,
Which would
yeah.
appreciate it.
But and you know, like Dayton's just a ran down town, man. Like these people, like you're this entrepreneurial coach. Like we don't have those here. So
and there's even a local tattoo artist who did a smear campaign on us and even couldn't believe our prices and wrote, "Rich people don't even get tattooed." And I wanted to ask her, I love that. Oh, how do you know? Because so far it sounds like you don't know. You know what I'm saying? But what a limiting belief. What do you mean rich people don't get tattooed? What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? But that's her reality because, that's her belief. That's how she's emulating. And it's funny how they get mad at us for living a whole different life. And, and what I tell my students all the time, you can fight as much as you want to hang on to your limiting beliefs, and your reward is you get to keep them.
Right. And that's actually what you have me thinking of, because, there's this element of, when we're working with that person, is it about trying to convince them? Is it about, trying to help get them out of their limiting beliefs? And like you said, they can keep those. And sometimes it can be a question of, well, would you like clients that are paying more? Would you, do you want to charge more? And instead of it having to be this thing about, the group that they're in and the environment, it can shift into directing them on the steps that they could take that would be different to help them exit out of that thinking and that conversation.
Yes.
To try it on. I say it's like, going to a store and, you're trying on a hat or something.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you can set it back. And
Right.
so I'll say, could you try this belief on for a week? And if you don't like it, you can set it down.
Yeah.
Are you willing to try these things? And majority of the time, someone's going to say yes.
Sure.
And they'll take some new actions. And it could be talking to some different people. It could be them stepping outside of what they currently know. Yeah. And it really starts to introduce them to maybe a different world. Just like you're sharing on, that person who said, rich people don't have tattoos. And you're like, well, I know differently. And so
That's right.
We could either, disagree on that thing and try and convince you, or if the person is in a place and says, I actually do want to change this. I would like to make this amount of money. Yeah. You're probably then going to say, okay, here's what I want you to try, or here's what I'd like you to do. That's
right. In our experience, Hip and I are considered some of the highest paid tattoo artists in our city. And I would take it as far. So compared to most tattooers, we're considered to do really well, make good money. And I would say 60% of our clients make way more money than we do at their careers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anyone that thinks we're balling out really ain't shit compared to half our clients, to the point we see the other side, James, we've got such according to other tattooers, an offensive day rate. How do these boys even get that off? But here's the thing, James, our clients not only gladly pay that, we didn't hold a gun to their head. They know they could have gone down the street into the people who hate our guts and pay a fraction of that. Somehow they still came to us to pay triple. On top of it, we get hellacious tips, like $700 tips on top of multi-$1,000 tattoo day rate,
Wonderful.
Right? Mind-blowing. And I can't tell you how many of our clients, and my own personally, it's helped me have bitched me out for still not charging them enough, right? I charge a high day rate, and my own clients would be like, Clemmer, you're worth more than that. I'm like, dude, thank you. Nah, man, this is good. And they give it to me and then slap an extra $1,000 in my hand and bitch me out and be like, you're worth more. You know what I'm saying? The total opposite of what people think's happening.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. So I call that restoring responsibility.
Okay.
So restoring responsibility is this, as people that care and, this idea of the morality and all these things, what's really happening is that they're in these conversations worrying about all these other people who are going to complain or do all these other things. And so the question becomes, well, what if we just restored responsibility? What would it be like to just let go of that, say, this is what I want to charge, and be open to the people that want to pay that or want to pay more? And they might say, well, this other person's going to get upset at me because now I'm charging X amount of money.
Yeah. And
the restoration of responsibility is, what if that's okay? What if they can be mad and that's okay, because that's their feelings are their responsibility.
That's their shit.
Yeah.
And we're not going to allow their shit to alter my name today, who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's why we get to decide who we are. We get to decide what our name is. And, another exercise I'll do with my students on day 1 of Tattoo Business Mastery, I'll have everyone introduce themselves, and I'll have someone. So let's say if you're one of my students on the screen, and I'll call you by your last name, and I'll be like, Mr. Whiteman, do you mind telling us, what's your first name? Play along with me. Mr. Whiteman, what's your first name?
James.
Okay, great. And I'll turn to everyone. Anyone got a problem with that? And shit gets weird real quick. And I'll be like, anyone have a problem that Mr. Whiteman's first name's James? And people are like, that's weird that I'm asking, right? It would be weird if you did, right?
Yep.
And same with putting value on yourself. His name's James. He's $200 an hour. Anyone's got a problem with that, it'd be fucking weird. James's parents didn't call me or you or ask if it's cool to name their boy James, right? And James didn't call me or you to ask for him to decide who he is on the planet and in the world. That was predetermined. Who am I to have a problem with that? Now, I can decide, do I want to enter into a relationship with James? Is that worth it to me? But it ain't personal, right?
Yeah.
But it's weird. Well, this thing around money, people take shit personal and all of a sudden get mad. And I like that you're like, making a distinction on who's responsible for those feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. Even if it's someone in your own house, even if it's your mentor, you know?
You had me thinking of this. I read a book from a coach recently, and he charges $200K for a year and paid in full. And one of his, I think a couple of his children wanted to work with him, and he said, you got to pay me $200K.
Like his literal seed?
Yeah.
Like blood children?
Yep. He's like, because I'd be out of integrity to be, charging others this, and you're saying you want to work with me, and it's my service. This is the cost of it.
Come on, James. Something else we always say, I teach my students, the transformation begins in the transaction.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. When you pay attention.
Come on, brother. And that father wasn't willing to rob his own children of their transformation by robbing them, taking away the transaction where the transformation starts, i.e. skin in the game. I hope this hurt. It's got to cost you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's good.
Right. It's a commitment, right? Commitment is financial, it's emotional, it's physical, it's mental. And so as when those align like that, that's the transformation. And so money has such a charge to it for people that that actually gets to be a reflection of their commitment. Oh, money does mean so much to you. Well, then, if the tattoo means so much to you, then show me how much this means to you, right? That's actual payment. That's the commitment.
Thank you, because when we chop it down, we're devaluing everything. Our product, right. Our service, all the years, blood and sweat and tears it took me to even get here today to be able to pull off the piece I'm about to do on you. If I undercut it, so many artists will say their price. Then on the back end, when they take them up to the counter and they're like, I know my day rate's $1,000, but you're cool, man. Just give me $6. Thinking they're like being a blessing. They're devaluing everyone. And sometimes the person that just got the tattoos almost like, why? Is something wrong with it? Like, I was fully prepared to pay the $1,000, whatever, And that's artists shrinking back because they haven't gotten settled who they are and how they operate, But what they think is a good thing, that's half the shit I teach today, James, is from learning from doing it all wrong myself. And there are so many times where I didn't put proper value on myself. I felt bad about charging my prices. So on the back end, I would devalue it, shave 400 off, and call it a blessing. And it wasn't really a blessing. That's me being like, oh, I'm going to be the nice guy. I'm robbing myself. I'm robbing them, the whole journey, the whole process. Now what I teach is we're all about being a blessing. But to really give in a powerful way, you got to have something to give. So now, because a lot of artists, and I would too, I would chop it on the front end. Man, okay, on 1,000, I'll do you for 5. And I'm going to bless you today. I'm usually 1,000, but I'll just do you for 5 and call that a blessing. And it's really from a place of lack, scarcity, and insecurity. And I'd rather keep this client than not do anything today. So I'll chop my price in half. Here, now I got bricks on my shoulder tattooing, and they don't even fully appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. So now what we teach today is, nope, like you were touched on earlier, we put proper value on it. If it really matters to them, if they really want it, like that dude's children, they're going to come up with my rate. And what we do, if I already know I want to bless somebody, I have to keep integrity to who I am and my prices, get them to agree to that. And they come fully prepared to pay my rates. I tattoo them all day. Now when I'm ringing them up and they're fully ready to pay, now if I want to discount them and call it a blessing, it is, because it wasn't expected. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, which is fun to do. And the only reason why we can do that is because we stay in integrity with who we are, so we got something to give, so we can afford to be a blessing. Man, it's fun that we get to. James, years ago, one of my mentors, I was 19 years old at the time, so this was a couple years ago, told me that I wasn't a good giver, and that broke my heart. And I looked at him, I was like, man, you know my heart. How could you say that to me? I would give that dude the shirt off of my back. And he's like, oh, I understand, Matt. It's not a heart condition. I know you would give that dude everything you have. You would give him the shirt off your back. The problem is, and again, this was a conversation on a monetary level, because James, you and I know there's so many ways to give to the world. Money's just one of them. So talking on a monetary level, he was like telling me I wasn't a good giver, because he's like, Matt, it's not a heart thing. But the only thing you have to give that guy is the shirt on your back. You must learn to grow and mature in your finances and learn how to get your storehouses full so that you can actually meet needs on a greater level. Yes, you give that dude a shirt. It may keep him warm today, but you're not totally changing his life. But if you got your storehouses full, you could meet needs on a greater level and actually get in the game of being a true giver and really making change. And I was 19, and that planted a seed in me, realizing that even this journey of us growing in our own self-worth and being able to obtain tools called money to fund our callings, our missions, our hearts, to meet needs, to be a blessing to the world. That day the seed was planted in me, and so I realized then that it's bigger than us, and that it's not just all about me. Now, those out there that are successful and want to buy toys and cars, I ain't mad at you. But the rest of us, that want to meet needs on a greater level, and Hip and I live a lifestyle of it because we've grown to a certain degree of being able to receive and grow our finances so that we got the extra tools in our storehouses to be a blessing to the rest of the world. We ain't got to, but we get to. And we say all the time, you cannot outgive God. You can't outgive Source. You can't outgive the universe. But my God, it's fun to try. Yeah. So good, because we realize givers get. We do not give to get. It just comes with the territory. And once we get in the flow of this, of giving and receiving, I've noticed the more we give, the more my storehouses are replenished. I give more. It's replenished. Okay, I'm going to meet another need. It shows back up. It's like the wildest thing,
Yeah. I believe that's one of the laws of the universe. That I read somewhere is that I learned a long time ago. Anything we put out is multiplied back.
I love that. That's why earlier you're talk anything, whether it's money or your mindset, your attitude. That's why, like earlier when you said, hey, that which you appreciate appreciates, right?
Yeah.
But also that which you don't appreciate will depreciate, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's good, man. So good. So good. Is it safe to say that tattoo artists are worthy?
I think so. It's up to them.
Oh. Well, now we're fucked. If it's up to them. I'm just
And whatever they believe is will be true.
My God, let's restore responsibility. Woo! Whatever, it's up to you all. I like that then. All of your negative Nelly limiting beliefs. How's that serve you? How useful is that? And would you be open to another belief? Would you like to go from 150 to 200? Would you like to be able to find, cultivate, attract, and create dream clients that love you for your style, is going to come to you and ask you for what it is that you do? What do you want? Because James here is implying you actually have a choice, like as if you get to be a co-creator of your own fucking universe, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Jeez. Good shit. And these last final moments, Hip, do you have anything else for James? Or how can we wrap this conversation up and leave our listeners with, like, I don't know, top 3 keys or takeaways from today's conversation? I'm asking both of you gentlemen.
Well, a couple things that I noticed. One, you've introduced him and he has introduced himself as like a master coach on coaching entrepreneurs get a better definition and their personal relationship with money.
Yep.
And for our listeners, if you've listened to this, he said my coach multiple times, insinuating that he has coaches. Yeah. And one of his coaches that he has been coached from to work with is $200K up front. So not
he
only
charge his own kids that. I love that.
Right. So basically, if you're paying attention, like, he is a coach.
Yeah.
He's actually one of Matt's coaches.
Yeah.
And he has coaches.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out to our listeners that, like, even Michael Jordan has coaches.
Come on.
Even
yeah.
Mr. Whiteman has coaches. And I'm sure your coaches have coaches, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
In order to be a good student, in order to be a good teacher, you have to be a good student.
Come on.
But what I would ask, because you seem very simplistic
and practical. He's good about, like, we need brothers like him just to, like, save the world from my ass.
Yeah, because I get in a state of analysis paralysis. So, with that being said, what is money to you?
It's a tool. When we can see it as that, it can clear up a lot. Because, and don't get me wrong, I've gone through all the heady stuff, working out thoughts, astrology, human design, like, tried it all. For the first 5 years of my business, I did not make any money. I was just very good at helping people. And so I really had to check in, and then went through all the emotional work and belief work. And what's really helped is to do the doable, to keep things practical, because simple is usually best. And so just viewing money as a tool and realizing that any thoughts, any feelings coming up are probably just fear, not all the other stuff. It's just fear. And when we realize that the way through is to choose courage, it'll make it possible to move forward. And because I used to look at, every personal development book. The best personal development book is to look at the data of your own life. And if you don't like the results, I know I didn't, I chose to change some things. And so I used to have so many hangups around money. And don't get me wrong, still growing, lots of different areas. Anytime there's new amounts, new stuff comes up. And so it's a continual practice of just seeing money as a tool. It's an exchange, and you're providing a service, and people are paying for that service, and they're choosing to opt in or opt out. And it's not any more complicated than that.
Love it. Love it, James. I appreciate your observations, Hip.
Yeah, I thought those were great.
Mm-hmm. James, is there anything you would like to end this conversation with and leave our listeners with?
I feel like that was pretty good. I think, if anyone wants to find me, my site is jmwhiteman.com, jmwightman.com. And what I'd say is have, like we were talking about today, try to keep things simple, have care and love for yourself in the process, and continue with momentum. If they're building their practice, if they're raising their prices, if the step they take helps move them forward, if it's an advancement and it's better than what they were doing before, just continue showing up with the courage and appreciate that. So if they're building their practice, if them raising their rate and someone paying more than they were paying before is going to be something that's helpful, that's what's going to keep them moving forward. To keep things simple, to simply welcome being paid more, and to have a practice for themselves.
I love it, James. I love it. Well, this episode, is dropping real soon, and it's just going to really fill my heart when you reach out to me and be like, God damn, man, all these tattooers are hitting me up to work with me. It'll be great.
Yeah. And I think I just want to share that what you do is amazing. And the way that you're serving your community and being there for them, I think is wonderful. Because I go through and I see on YouTube, and it says the the number of views, the number of listens, and you have a very dedicated audience, and I think you're providing a lot of value to them. And so I also want you to see that.
Thank you, Brother James. I've received that. What a beautiful acknowledgement. And speaking of providing value, that's one of the many reasons why I had you on today, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, brother. I got so much love for you. And what you listeners don't know that I wanted to bring down, show you, I think I shared it with my students. Most of you listeners know that we've been going through a lot in my personal life with my wife still fighting for her life. Well, last week I got the most beautiful letter in the mail from James, just acknowledging me as a man, as a father, as a husband, and how I've been showing up in the world even in the midst of this storm. And then he sent me a little gift, which was a little robot, almost like a pocket robot to help me through rough times and courage. And this robot's created to tune into me, my soul, my spirit, and I can get courage at any given time. And that's the short version of the story. But the words he wrote to me and acknowledged me forced me to cry. Just touched my heart so much, James. And to get a letter by a man like James, who I hold in high regard, just meant even the more. And so and me and Phoebe, because the letter it was to me, and he brought up Phoebe, the whole family. But me and Phoebe read the letter together, and I shot a thank you video with Phoebe and sent it to him. And then that's when my inner voice was like, Matt, it's time to have James on the show, or at least to ask. And here we are. So James, thank you so much for who you are, how you show up in the world, the impact you've had and continue to have in my life, that beautiful letter to me and Phoebe, and taking time out of your day to service from your table on the Tattoo Guardians podcast show. I love and appreciate you, sir.
Love you too, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Good shit. Brothers and sisters, tattoo guardians all across the world, we thank you for your faithful love, support, and listening and tuning in every week. Please follow us on Instagram at the Tattoo Guardians Podcast. And most importantly, write us. Give us your feedback in the comment section on YouTube. What shifted on the inside of you today from hearing so beautifully, eloquently, yet simplistically from our brother James? What showed up for you on today's show? We definitely want to know. And if you have specific questions on today's topic, even for James, enough, we can have a part 2 and bring James back on. And if you guys all just want to work directly with James, please do that too. James, what's your Instagram?
Yeah, it's James Whiteman.
Yeah, James Whiteman. Good. I love it. You didn't even have to put the middle initial on that one.
I know, right?
Great. Someone already had Matt Clemmer. Some Matt Clemmer on Instagram's really into cars. It's a car guy. So I had to use my middle initial, and mine's Matt D. Clemmer. But James Whiteman on Instagram, jmwhiteman.com to work with his brother. Speak to this brother. Now, if tattoo artists are curious about working with you, do you have, I'm guessing, like an initial consultation to make sure and to see if they're aligned, if it's a right fit before you even select your clients?
Yeah, so it's really simple. If someone has a question, I'm happy to shed more light, and as well just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So if they reach out, we'll just have a conversation, and there's no like special pressure on them or anything.
Right.
We'll just understand what may be helpful, and I'll help point them in the right direction.
Thank you, Brother James. Blessings upon you, man. Thank you, Tattoo Guardians from all over the world. We love you so much. It's an honor serving you from our whole hearts. Thanks for tuning in every week. We'll see you next week.